There it is.
There it is.
Flawless.
That was really good.
Flawless victory. That was it. And we're live on a camera.
Yeah.
Cameras, dual cameras.
People get to see us now.
I GoPro.
Yeah.
This is totally going to help your dating life.
Yeah.
Oh, stop
Just
it.
watch.
This is it. This is what we're doing now. We can try it at least.
The only reason we're on video is because everybody wanted to see what Ralph looks like.
That's right.
They've already seen Jake and I.
So many comments in that says, let's see what he looks like so we can find him on Bumble.
Find him on Bumble.
My coffee's over there. Why don't you guys do the intro real quick?
Where are you going? Oh, it's we had a little bit of a shifting thing before.
We're working with lighting now because we're on video.
All right, guys. So how's it going?
It's going well. This is very exciting. So what prompted the idea? So yesterday, Ralph texted me photos that you guys were buying cameras and GoPros and whatnot. What sparked the idea?
This is sponsored by GoPro. Thanks, guys. It adds another element to kind of the whole multimedia aspect of the alternative daily. And
I see what you did there.
I see what I did. And so I also heard from people that people like to see people and they want to see what we look like, and so that's why I'm wearing a hat so I can cover up my bald head. But no, I think it's really cool. We're gonna try this. We'll try it for a little bit, see how it works out. I don't know if GoPros are the answer to do it or not, but we'll try it.
GoPros are so awesome. I really want one too. When I was in Telluride, when we were skiing and stuff, a couple of the guys that I was with like strapped them to their helmets and everything. And it was really cool to be able to watch the videos, especially of me crying every time I was going down the bunny slope.
Well, since this one's sponsored by GoPro, we will be giving away a GoPro today.
I'm not checking these emails anymore. It's ridiculous. And I don't get anything.
We will tell you we're going to give away a GoPro later on in the show. But
we have a good
maybe
show.
One of these, maybe an autographed GoPro from me, Megan, and Ralph.
There you go.
I don't know how you couldn't even put it on there, but no, we.
I'd autograph the box.
Funny enough, Ralph and I went to Best Buy yesterday to get these. And again, I have no clue. I wish I knew more about technology. I used to, but
no research.
So you guys are just the ones that go into Best Buy and are like, just take my money.
Really, that's exactly what happened. And so there's like 4 or 5 different GoPros. You have like your Session, which is like $199. Then you have your next thing, it's just $299. And then you had your Hero 4 Silvers, which are $399. And then they have a GoPro Hero 4 Black, which is $499. So I'm like, okay, this is on the company. I'm just going to get the most expensive one. So we're there. We go get the most expensive one. We get 2 of them. And we get home, and I'm going through them. I'm like, there's no LCD screens on the back. Like,
really?
Yeah, because I guess, I don't know. I guess because it's like the newest technology, it's actually better HD or 4K or whatever.
Right.
They just they can't put the LCD screen on the back. And so I was like, shit, Ralph, we got to see what we're doing here. So
we're not even sure we're doing it right.
No, you're doing it right. But so I had to take them back.
That was after Jake mauled the box.
Yeah, Ralph was like I don't want to
absolutely destroyed it.
He said, I don't want to stand beside you while you take this back, because literally the box was ripped. And so I just
the guy
got excited.
sold it to us was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. So we took them back, and they did actually exchange them. So now we have the GoPro Hero 4 Silvers. Listen later on, and we'll tell you how you can win one of your very own.
Valued at $399.
You give it away. And then if you want to get the separate battery pack, it's like $79, and then a dual battery charger's another $79.
Accessories
and then
included.
you have the tripods are like another $80, and it's they got a good business model. They know what they're doing.
This is like the biggest thing now. Obviously, I'm big on Instagram. I love to look at photos and videos and stuff on Instagram.
Like popular on Instagram, or
no, I wish. Only in my own mind. I don't even have 1,000 followers.
All right.
No, that's like not even that many. That's
Megan Harris TV. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, Megan Harris TV. Okay, you're on Twitter again.
I'm on Twitter again. I don't think I got any followers from our last thing.
I followed you.
Jake Surfs is what it is. Ralph, follow me on Twitter because I know you're active on it.
So last week on
try.
the podcast, we talked about how Jake is not on Twitter or anything, and then he reactivated it. And the first tweet he sent was to me.
It was
saying he reactivated his Twitter and he had to reset his password.
I had to reset my password. But the funny thing is I asked her, I was like, "Is it cool to retweet or respond to people that tweeted you like 5 years ago?"
No.
But no, I think I set it up in like 2011. I was pretty hip way back then. But
yeah, you were really ahead of the curve there.
Yeah, so I'm back on Twitter. If you want to follow me, I'm at Jake Surfs. I'll do it more if people follow me.
I think tweeting is good. I use Twitter to follow like a variety of news outlets.
Yeah.
That's what I really like it for.
Do you use it, Ralph?
No, but that's exactly what I would use it for, is to follow news.
I follow news and traffic on it, actually.
Traffic. You can get Miami traffic updates.
I get like I-95 updates.
95.
Because that way when I have to come here,
Yeah,
go
exactly.
wherever, I need to know. I need to know.
Awesome. So we have a good show. We got a couple things to get into. But before we get into it, I was actually down at Isla Mirada at a very, very beautiful wedding. 2 brides. My sister got married to the love of her life. And it was a really, really good weekend. Isla Mirada is one of our favorite places, and it was absolutely awesome. And but let's get back to me. My speech absolutely rocked it. And it's funny, my dad and I kind of went off the cuff on some things. I was writing my speech down, and I workshopped it. I actually workshopped it with Steven. We were walking. I was like, let me workshop this with you. And so I was like, is it good, bad? He's like, it's great. It's going to kill it. But the funny enough is I went to go put my I actually wrote it on one of these pads, and I went to go put it in my shirt, in my jacket pocket, and the tag was still in there. And so I was like, okay, let me rip that up. No, I'm going to work this into the speech. Sure. So I kind of went off the cuff with that one. So I kind of started off. It's funny. My dad gave a speech, and my oldest sister gave a speech, and then it was me. And so when I picked up the mic, I said, okay, now that amateur hour's over, let's go. And that got a good little rousing. But anyway, so I actually started it off with by pulling it out and be like, oh, the tag's still in there. And then I actually read off how much the suit cost. So I was like, oh, $358. Thanks, guys. And so I won't give it all away, but it was it was a really.
We'll put
good
it on our
speech.
YouTube channel.
We'll put it on our YouTube channel. It got a little PG-13, but it was a really good speech, really good weekend, and Isla Mirada's always been really good to us. Great blue heron just going right by right
When
there.
are you going to take us back to Isla Mirada?
I'm working on those dates.
Now we have it on
Good
audio
segue.
and video.
I'm working on those dates.
That's the alternative daily headquarters for our retreat.
Company retreat, yes. We'll see what we can do. It all depends on if Ralph does well this quarter. It's all on Ralph.
Don't screw it up for us,
We're
Ralph.
booked out, man.
It's all on us. So one thing that you wanted to get into.
I just think this would be fun to talk about.
So go for it.
Oh, okay.
Ralph and I got nothing on this one.
Oh, come on. Okay, so this Sunday is Valentine's Day, and I have the opinion that Valentine's Day, I look at it a lot like how I look at New Year's Eve, where it's got so much hype into it. Whether you have a significant other or not, there's so much hype, just like New Year's Eve, that I feel like most people end up really disappointed. Or the expectation is you have to do so much stuff. And really, shouldn't you be doing those things on the other days of the year? So even though I have a significant other, I don't really, we have no plans or anything for Valentine's Day.
All right, next topic. So,
well, what do you guys think about Valentine's Day?
We don't really celebrate. Actually, Dr. Josh is coming in town with his 3 kids, so obviously we're not doing anything romantic. We did things like, I guess you could say, early in college. Here's my take on it. I think it's fun when you have an interest in somebody, right? But for those that
when you get married and have a kid, it's
that
all
sounds
over.
terrible. It's not like I am very interested in my wife, but from a different that honeymoon phase, it's fun. It's really fun. But so when Gina and I started dating, or even just different, girlfriends in high school, you get them like a little necklace. I remember one girlfriend in 5th grade, I gave her one of those yin yang necklaces. She probably still has it. And
the one that got away. That's what she says about him.
No, I gave another girlfriend something senior year in high school, freshman year of college. But then when I started dating Gina, she was really good at presents. She actually was awesome at presents. I was terrible. I remember she gave me a couple of a PlayStation game and a bottle of Jägermeister and a sweatshirt and stuff. And I can't remember what I got
really
her.
Good presents.
I actually gave her I remember it because we still have it. A stuffed monkey from the Farmville, Virginia Walmart. I actually went there. I was like, I gotta get something. I got a stuffed monkey, and she still has it. But we exchanged stuff like that, and that was fun. And then once we moved in together, it became more of, okay, I'm gonna try and do this. But she would always say, I'd prefer you, because she's so practical, I'd prefer you not spend $50 on roses today. Just buy me a couple other flowers throughout the year.
That's my
cool.
attitude.
And so
too.
I don't actually get the roses. I might get some sort of flower, but I don't get the roses on the day. But this is a really good story because one Valentine's Day, I was so excited. I actually got her I think this Valentine's Day, I forget what it was. I think it was a diamond ring. I got her a diamond ring.
Wow.
Now again, and believe me, it was was K Jewelers. It wasn't, it was the cheapest ring that they had there that kind of had a little bit of taste of diamond in it. And I remember just being excited because I was like, I'm going to give it to her. And being a guy, I have no clue that there's any implications for a
Oh, you guys
diamond
weren't
ring.
married yet?
No.
Oh, that was really stupid.
Yeah. So I have it wrapped up, give it to her, and
Oh my God.
I give it to her, and she goes, "Oh, what does this mean?" I was like, "Happy Valentine's Day," and she's like, "Does this, are you trying to tell me something?" I was like, "No, this is just giving you a ring." She was like, "Oh, well, my mom always told me that my first diamond ring should be an engagement ring," and I was like, "That's not what I'm trying." I was like, "Do you want it to be a promise ring? You can have it be whatever you want. It's just a ring." And it did not go over well. We had reservations at this really nice place. We actually ended up having to go back to K Jewelers, and she made me return the ring before
On Valentine's Day.
Yeah. It was terrible.
her.
And so I told her, I was like, I'm done. I'm just done, And so when I did finally get the engagement ring, which, by the way, there was no surprises in that. It was we went to kind of like go pick it out together, which really means she was picking it out. And then I remember like after going there like 4 times, she was like, "Okay, I'm done. Now surprise me." And I was like, "That's terrible." So after I got the engagement ring, I haven't bought her a piece of jewelry yet, and she's fine with that. So I think in terms of like honeymoon phase, it's fun, it's cool. I think when you're single, we'll get into Ralph here in a second. But right now, like I'll probably get Noah some candy. We'll probably give her a little card.
My dad
and
always
stuff like
gets me like a card and stuff.
Yeah, but it's I don't have anything
I think
big
it's
planned.
kind of overrated. In my opinion, I think that people, especially if you're single, put so much pressure on themselves that they don't have a Valentine or something. Like somebody asked me the other day, "Oh, what are your plans do you have big plans this weekend? It's a long weekend. It's Valentine's Day."
It's a long weekend?
Yeah. Well, for some people, Monday, President's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. So like Colin
Thanks,
doesn't
Obama.
work.
He gives us a day off.
So, but yeah, it's not even something. I did get Colin a little present, but really more because it's something
What'd
that
you get him?
I wanted us to both go to. I got him the South Beach Wine and Food Festival is coming into town at like the end of the month, so I got us tickets to go to one of the events.
Now,
it's like a seriously nice gift, but really I wanted to go to it, and I figured would never buy something like that.
Do you give tickets? Like, do you give them the tickets, or do you give them like a certificate?
So I'll print the ticket and put it in a card.
Got it. We do a lot of certificates in this family where it's just like
I owe you.
Kind of. So for Christmas, because Gina's birthday is really close to Christmas, so I gave her, I got her something for her birthday, and then I was like, Christmas, I got to get her something like last minute, and so there's this one like artist that we like for a painting, and we don't have any like artwork, so we want to get one, and so I kind of like printed out a picture of it, and I was like, Merry Christmas from Jake and Noah. You get to pick out whichever one you want. We haven't gone to get it yet.
The home shopping job that I work part-time around the holidays, I was like, when it was getting like after it was too late to place your orders, for jewelry and watches, that was one of the things that I kept recommending was, you could just like buy the watch or buy the piece of jewelry and print a photo of it and put it in a card.
Yeah.
And my boss was like, "Don't encourage people to do that. That's like really tacky." I was like, "No, I think it's fine." So, Single Awareness Day for some. What?
Oh, I'm getting the eyeballs.
Yeah. So what do you have planned?
I'm not planning anything.
Because it would be kind of weird to ask somebody out on Valentine's Day if you weren't serious with
I'm not
them.
doing it.
Oh, would you do that? Because you're in the dating scene. Would you ask somebody out for a drink?
If I wasn't interested, or if it wasn't at that level, I'd probably disappear for a week.
All right, let me give you a scenario. Let's just say you've been just having conversations with 5 women. Okay.
Okay.
Just walk with
Ralph
me.
likes this scenario.
Yeah, you like it. And let's just say you have to, and they all say, "Ralph, I really want to go out for a drink with you. I want to do dinner." Do you? And they want to do it.
When does that happen?
And they want to
Ever?
do it like in the next week. Okay. Do you plan around Valentine's Day? Do you say, "Okay, I'll take somebody out on Sunday"? Then
I'm not going out during Valentine's Day.
So you would never. So number 3, let's say Alice says, "You know what? I'd like to go for a drink." You're not going to say, "Okay, Monday." You would not.
Valentine's Day's on Sunday.
Or Sunday. So So you wouldn't do it. You would not do it on Valentine's Day.
I think it purely from the.
If you have 5, you have 5 girls who want to go on a date each night next week.
Damn.
Do you take one of them out?
That'd be great. Do I take what?
Do you take one of them out on Sunday?
Yeah, but it would have to be a lot of thought into what place I'm going to that doesn't make it awkward or me feel awkward.
I actually
Like
have
a
a friend. I have a friend that
Duffy's.
has
Duffy.
gone on a date with a guy twice, and she like sort of was broaching the subject, I think very casually of like, oh, what are you doing this coming weekend? And it like kind of freaked him out because she was just sort of, I mean, I think she was hoping maybe he would ask her to do something on Valentine's Day, but they've only gone out twice. And I think it sort of made him a little bit, I mean, she hasn't heard from him since Friday.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're Dr. Josh is coming with the kids, so I have zero plans. And I like other than Gina returning a ring, I don't remember like anything bad happening. So have you ever gone on a date during Valentine's Day?
Of course. I mean, probably more around the weekend, but I wouldn't actually say it had to be specifically on Valentine's Day.
It's like one of the most expensive days of the year to go out for dinner.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Again, it's like
New Year's.
But that's the reason, even if I was married, I'd probably say, hey, let's go out on Saturday, not Sunday. Like 100%.
Yeah,
you know,
so
I do think you should do something, but if you have to put too much mental anguish into trying to plan a Valentine's Day, then just stay home and play a board game.
He's single, lady.
Final verdict from Ralph.
I'm so glad that this topic nobody wanted to talk about has been so interesting.
Jake was a huge fan of it.
Now, do you feel? All right, let's dig a little deeper here. Then, do you feel obligated to get intimate with your partner on Valentine's Day?
I don't think you should feel obligated.
If
to
you
do
have
anything.
A partner,
yeah,
I'm sure.
Good for Colin. But Ralph, you say you shouldn't feel obligated, right?
I don't like feeling obligated about anything.
Nobody tells him what to do.
Yeah.
You know, so you do what you can and you get through the night.
You know, but again, it goes back to the whole thing of it's Valentine's Day, so we,
the expectations.
We got to do it. But I'm the same way.
Feeling.
I'm the same way about New Year's Eve. It's just like
I hate New Year's Eve.
I'm not. So why would you expect to get intimate on Valentine's Day?
Oh no, I'd have to do it on New Year's Eve as well. I'm just saying it's like one of those things.
But see, like for a while I felt the same way, but then it was just like this is just another day, and
Well, I mean, I also like when you look at
Ralph and I are so boring, I guess.
But I have a friend that stresses every single time he needs to get his girlfriend something or he needs to plan a night out and like a big dinner or whatever. And then you look at it, and then you got her birthday, and then you got all these days, Christmas, and then you have this holiday, that holiday. And before you know it, I used to say like every 2 months I would see my buddy just stressing out.
Yeah.
And it's like there's other holidays outside of New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day, and when you accumulate them together, you're getting stressed at least once.
Nobody said a relationship was cheap, Ralph.
So would you say
sex is not free?
Would you say that New Year's Eve is the second most romantic holiday?
Okay, yeah, probably. I would imagine.
I would say anniversary.
Okay. What about birthdays?
I don't know if it's really romantic.
Thanksgiving.
Oh God, who can have sex after Thanksgiving? Oh my God, you have to do it in the morning that day just to get it out of the way. That's just what it's like to live with me.
so that's our take on Valentine's Day. Do you want us to cover anything else on that topic?
No, I think we're good. I think we've pretty much nailed it.
Yeah. When you wanted to bring that up, we were just like, oh, God,
I know. I really wanted to talk about this.
So there's no other burning questions. Do you remember like any really good gift that you ever got?
No. I mean, I think I had like boyfriends that would send me flowers to school. And when I was in high school, there was this thing where you could, in the week leading up to Valentine's Day, you could do these candygrams and you could like secretly send people, like somebody you had a crush on, candy and like with a note and stuff. And so my girlfriends and I would always like see who got the most.
Yeah, Noah's getting ready. They have a Valentine's Day party, so you get to get the little like
the paper cards. You have to get one for everybody in class.
They're so cool. And they're having a little party, so I have to bring in grapes. And I think that we even brought like another. I think we're giving like they have like Valentine's. Well, it's not Valentine's Day, but we're giving like little Play-Doh containers.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's just
it's fun for kids. And it's fun like when you're in high school and middle school.
She has no clue. She just knows it's a heart, which means it's Valentine's Day. But so that's what we're doing this week. All right.
There it is.
Valentine's Day. We crushed it. We don't have to go through with it now, Ralph.
So the next one, completely making a hard left here, I guess.
Yeah, Valentine's Day, bacteria.
Things that make you sick.
Things that make you sick. Now, this is one of the first videos you did for us a year, 2 years ago? 2 years ago, maybe.
Over 2 years ago, I've been working with you guys.
Yeah. So something, it comes up a lot, and I don't know what to do about this, which is when I walk into somebody's house and you see shoes at the door. Do you take your shoes off?
Yes, absolutely.
Megan says yes. What do
I
you
request
do?
people to take shoes off at my apartment.
We'll get there in a second.
Oh.
What do you do, Ralph?
It depends on who it is and my relationship with them.
Okay.
Explain that. Let's go deeper.
You walk into Jake's house, there are shoes at the front door. Do you take your shoes off?
Yeah, I probably just take my shoes off. Better safe than sorry.
Now there are some shoes by the door.
He's like, if it's like one of my good friends, and I'm just like, what the hell is this guy doing right now, making everyone? I'd probably do it in spite.
So I think here's what goes through my head. It's like when you walk in, I think it's one thing like taking off your shoes. It's kind of like you're bearing your soul. You take off your shoes. You're kind of like it's showing a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Like informality or whatever, and your vulnerability of just saying like, oh, here are my feet. You guys can look at them or whatever, right? And so I think by keeping your shoes on, you kind of keep that a little bit of a formality there. However, there are some issues with keeping shoes on in the house.
So there was a study that was published in 2014 in Science Direct, and they actually noted that the bottom of your shoes, no matter what kind of shoes you were wearing, were the highest carrier of Clostridium difficile, which is also known as C. diff, and that is like one of the most dangerous, life-threatening bacterias. And actually, my mom, who was hospitalized over Christmas, was hospitalized and they could not figure out what was wrong with her, and it was really, really scary. She was in the hospital like on morphine for like 4 or 5 days. And it turned out my mom had C. diff. She contracted C. diff. And the doctors at the hospital have no idea how she got it. I'm not saying that my mom got it from the bottom of sneakers, because people can get C. diff.
Yep.
You find it a lot in like care facilities and hospitals and doctors' offices. But it's really, really dangerous. And seeing what my mom went through, and now the fact that when somebody has C. diff, it's in you forever. So
Really?
You're more susceptible. Yeah, it's not like other bacterias. My mom will always now have C. diff like in her body, and this means she'll be more susceptible to get it again. Like 1 in 5 people that have C. diff will get another infection within like the first 5 years.
Well, I don't know if your mom had this treatment, and you don't have to share if she did, but one of the treatments with C. diff is actually you have a like a fecal transplant where they take all of the feces out of your body and they put, because you have to have it in you at a given point, and so they take it out and put other like clean, healthy ones in there.
So my mom thankfully did not have it at that level, but God forbid she were to have this again, it could be worse. And then that's something. What happened with my mom was she was just they gave her like heavy antibiotics for like the first 3 weeks of January. She was on serious antibiotics, and now she has to be even more careful with like keeping things clean and all of that. But I had no idea until you sent me this article that C. diff, because when my mom got this, we were like, where the hell do you get something like that? And you can get it anywhere. I mean, public restrooms, and it can just get into your body because it's in your stomach and your bacteria. But then when I read this article, I was like, oh my God.
What are the symptoms? Is it like throwing up, going to the bathroom,
My mom
diarrhea?
was really, really, really ill. So she has diverticulitis. And so they thought that she was having an attack of diverticulitis, which is an inflammation of your colon and your intestines. So my mom was hospitalized with like crazy pain. Like she couldn't move. She went to the emergency room. They hospitalized her, and every day she wasn't getting better. And they were treating diverticulitis symptoms because they're similar, like fevers, vomiting, going to the bathroom. You can't keep any food down. Like they put her on a liquid diet. And then it wasn't until they actually tested, I mean, this is so gross, after they had done a fecal test, that's how they found out she actually had C. diff. She didn't have an episode of diverticulitis. And so as soon as they found that out, they were very easily able to treat it. It's not like something that, you get it and they can't treat it. The problem is a lot of people, this is what the doctor at the emergency room was saying, a lot of people think they have food poisoning or the flu, or they don't know what it is and they're just in so much pain they don't think they're getting better. But people don't go to the hospital for it, and that's when it can actually be life-threatening. Like you really can die from it. It's scary.
Yeah, we've written a couple articles on there about that, and especially the fecal transplant stuff, because it's something that people don't know anything about. Now, do you have any clue of where your mom actually picked it up?
So she had actually, they don't know. I mean, you can get it in hospitals and doctors' offices, so it's not like the hospital's going to be like, oh, you may have gotten it here. But she had gone for her yearly colonoscopy. like 3 or 4 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
So it could have been there, but it could have been in a public restroom. It could have been from the bottom of sneakers. I mean, there's just no way to know.
Got it.
Now, is she more susceptible, and that's why she contracted
So,
it? Or
no,
is
it can
a
happen.
bad case somewhere.
My mom is over the age of 60, and that's where you're more susceptible to getting it. So that is part of it. But people with lower compromised immune systems, people that maybe have had chemotherapy or any sort of autoimmune disease, they're more susceptible to it. And people our age can get it. It's not like you can't get it at a young age. But the factors are if you have a lower immune system or if you're over the age of 60.
Is there anything in the future? Like, I know I can never have a flu shot, right?
Really?
Yeah. Because of something I had. What did I have? Guillain-Barré when I was 14. But now, because of the treatments, I can no longer ever have it. I'll always test positive for Lyme disease, right? That's another thing. Is there something, one of those cases with your mother where she can't take any type of future treatments?
No. She's able to now sort of go back to living her normal life, so to speak. But she just has to be so much more careful now about keeping clean. Like, constantly, washing your hands constantly. And that's not necessarily the best thing in the world, but she has to really be like much more sterile, so to speak.
Shoes off at the door.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit more. The at your house, in your apartment, do you take your shoes off?
So it's funny. I grew up, whenever I would go to my dad's house, my dad was really, really, really crazy about taking our shoes off. So like my entire life, I always grew up taking my shoes off whenever I would go stay at my dad's house or when I was living with my dad. And I guess that sort of translated into me kind of becoming like that after college when like I had my own apartment, because it's a pain in the ass to like mop and sweep and all that. And so I was always getting kind of crazy about that. I'm not like really, if I have a lot of people over, like if I'm having everybody over for dinner or something, I don't necessarily request that everybody takes their shoes off, but I take my shoes off the second I get into my apartment. So does my boyfriend. Every single time. I do it at my mom's. I do it at my dad's.
Do you walk around in socks or?
I walk around in socks or barefoot. And like if I have one person over, my best friend, or if it's somebody that I'm super, super comfortable with, then I'll tell them to take their shoes off or ask them to. And it's pretty obvious. Like I keep a basket by the front door where shoes are. So it's not like somebody would have no idea. But then when I just had friends in town visiting, like the first day or so that they were there, I didn't want to be like OCD on their ass right away, So I was like, oh, hey, make yourself comfortable. Like, take your shoes off.
Now, what about having slippers at the front for people?
Okay, I'm not like P. Diddy or anything.
I kind of like that.
This is really random. I just want to make a quick aside. Years and years and years ago, like in 2009, this is a really weird story, but I actually went to Diddy's house, Sean Combs.
Okay.
And he lives.
Did he invite you? Did you?
I was with some people, and we were invited there. Yeah. And
hold on a second.
Yeah,
hold on. No, we gotta beat this up a little bit. How do you go there? How do you get? Do you get a ticket? Do you get
no?
text?
So I knew somebody that. So when I used to work for, I used to work for a local cable network. My first job out of college.
Yeah.
And it was in 2008. The Fontainebleau Hotel was reopened, and it was the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And my producer and I, we went and we covered it and like did the red carpet stuff. And the guy that was my producer at the time was really close with Lenny Kravitz's manager.
Okay.
And so Lenny Kravitz, it sounds like such a ridiculous story, like I'm bragging or something.
Keep going.
We were invited like one night after the Victoria's Secret fashion show, which was like this huge thing in Miami, like all these celebrities, these people there. We were hanging out and partying with this guy's manager, and he was like, oh, some of us are going to go back to somebody's house on Star Island. Do you want to come to Star Island? It's like, millionaire homes and stuff. And so we got into a car and we went there. And
was there any point in you guys were all like, maybe we should go home?
No, not at all. I was like, this was like 3:00 in the morning, and I was like, I cannot believe this is about to happen. I was 21. It was like the coolest thing that has ever happened in my entire life. So what time
do you arrive at Puff Daddy's house?
Diddy.
I still call him Puff Daddy.
Like, I think honestly, it was so long ago. I think it was like 3 in the morning.
Oh, so you weren't showing up for dinner?
No, but he did have food out.
Oh, yes, that's very nice.
So he at his front door, he had, I'll never forget this, like slots where you could put your shoes and take out a pair of
like a bowling alley.
And I was thinking like a yoga studio, like where you put your slippers in, your sandals or whatever in, and you could like put in a pair of shoes and take out a pair of Sean John white slippers.
Now, aren't you worried about like who else's feet have been in there?
I didn't care. At the time, I was just rolling with it. You know?
Excuse me, am I going to get athlete's foot from this?
Yeah, I like did not care at all.
Did you meet him?
Yeah.
Is he a nice guy?
Very nice.
At 3
Very,
a.m.
very, very nice. Yeah,
Very
there was
nice.
he was having like a lot of people
Tall,
over.
short.
Average height, really wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very generous. He had a lot of people over too. I met Lenny Kravitz too. It was really cool.
Can we interview them for this?
No, this was
Come
a long
on.
time ago. I don't even think they would
Jeez.
remember this.
Okay, so Puff Daddy leaves his shoes at the front of the door, so I think
He
we should all
leaves
do it.
slippers. We should all do that. When I was in Alaska over the summer, this is something that I think is really interesting. Every single person, no matter where you go, no matter whose house you go into, it is customary in Alaska to remove your shoes at the front door.
Interesting.
And the reason for that is because
Snow and wet?
Snow and wet and boots and all of that. It's just not, it's polite to take your shoes off at the front door. And so, you know, Colin has an aunt and uncle that live out there. So we were going, you know, with them to different friends' houses or when we were traveling different places. Even when we stayed, like when we were in northern Alaska in Denali area, like near the national park, we stayed in a cabin, like these little log cabins, so cute and very rustic. And there was like a sign that said, you know, please take your shoes off before entering the cabins. When we were later on in our trip in southern Alaska, off the coast of Homer, Alaska, we went to a party at this person's house. And I swear to God, there was like 50 people at this party. And every single person was taking their shoes off. It was like piles of shoes everywhere. And that's just what you do. And because it's always very cold there year round, people are always wearing socks. So it's not like you're barefoot anywhere.
Gotcha. And I think it's even in kind of like the northern states, so that's everything north of Florida, right? You know, not all houses, but like Colorado, like a lot of these places like in the mountains and stuff like that that ski, they have a lot of like mud rooms. Is that right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not all that off for people to do that. And I do remember, especially if it's rains or whatever, everybody takes their shoes off. But here I don't. I guess I should be. Well, I will walk around barefoot a lot. You know, and I'm actually wearing jeans now.
I can't even. I hardly recognized him today in jeans. I didn't even know he owned a pair
I
of
have
jeans.
Socks. Which I've actually been told from my 16-year-old niece that ankle socks are no longer cool.
Well, you have to like hide
What
your
is
socks.
cool?
No, like the
Pull up
like
the socks.
Yeah, these
Those
don't
are
go up.
back.
Yeah. When were they?
When did they go away? Oh,
I mean, like, because like when I went in high school, it was always like the ankle socks were kind of where it's at,
yeah,
or even
remember
trying
like
to hide
the
them.
skaters would like kind of have their like white or black socks like halfway.
Well,
up their calf.
everybody's doing it now,
Oh my
so
God. And she would know. She's 16.
I know. So I did send her a Snapchat. I'm big on there, and I told her that my ankle socks were on fleek. Anyways,
We're on fleek.
yeah, that's what the kids call on fire. You know it.
I'm
Happening.
The cat's meow. The dope show. So yeah, we don't do it. I guess maybe we should do it a little more. What happens if you're barefoot? You go outside to go get the mail, and what do? You put shoes on when you come back in?
Yeah. Like I, it's for me most of the time if I'm going somewhere to like hang out, I always just take my shoes off.
The worst is, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but it happened at my house growing up. Is we had dogs or whatever. So somebody like steps in dog poop and walks, and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
Until, so you
That's
you
the
look
worst.
back and you're like, oh, and it's the most embarrassing thing to happen to you.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you know people around. You're like, I'm sorry, I just stepped in dog poop, and I just tracked all over your house. Now it's terrible. So I guess you should always take off your shoes.
Yeah.
That's it.
But then you get that nice aroma from from the front door.
Gosh. So do you have a welcome mat?
No, I live in an apartment. I don't have a welcome mat. They've already like wiped their feet 10 times before they get to my apartment.
Gotcha. Welcome mat.
I'm not allowed because, well, on the
HOA?
outside, yeah, the HOA.
What about inside?
I do have one there.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Because you know why? No, it's because you always roll out the red carpet for me when I come.
Oh my God.
You're on fire. You're on fleek today.
All right. So if you want to win a GoPro, here's what you got to do.
Okay.
Listen
What
up,
do you
Megan.
think? You just do it. What do you think?
If you want to win a GoPro, you have to email us at podcast@thealternativedaily.com and let us know, do you take your shoes off when you go into your home? Do you take your shoes off when you go into other people's homes? Why or why not?
Or do you have like any dog poop stories when you stepped in it and you shouldn't?
See, it's like, why do you even ask me to do it then?
No, but do you wear
What
your
about
shoes?
worst Valentine's Day stories?
Oh, that's
Compare
a
with
good one.
Jake.
Just email us, podcast.
Megan really wants to talk to somebody.
Please, podcast@thealternativedaily.com. You can win a GoPro Hero 4 valued at $400. That's what the 4 is for. Hundreds of dollars. I'm telling you, I'm gonna make up emails.
But not the black one, because the black one is $4.99. It's more expensive,
and
but
it's not even as good.
apparently, no, we found this out.
Yes.
Apparently, it is if you want to strap it to a drone. And so on the way back to Best Buy yesterday, I was telling Ralph, I was like, but it is like 4K, meaning like this. I don't even know what that means, by the way. But it's
clear.
like, it definitely is like a better video quality. And I was before we left, I was reading and said, when you strap it to drones and stuff, and Ralph was like, we're not doing any drone stuff. I guess you're right. And so
I see drones all the time in Miami.
this is good. This is a good
All the
This is a
time.
good subcategory, because we were talking about it. Like, sure, a drone would be cool for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then you're just like wave into the sky. It's like, how many group shots do you need?
We were talking about what are you doing this Saturday? Oh, I'm just gonna take the drone out for a little bit. Is that what people do?
Yeah.
You could stalk on South Beach. Just
I
stalk
see
the
tons of people. It's funny because when I had my friends in town, we were I took them on a bike ride on the boardwalk, and we were riding our bikes, and we heard like the little buzzing, and you like look up, and somebody on the beach or something had a drone. People I work with, like for certain filming and stuff, like they've used drones before, but for personal
filming,
use.
though.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
personal use.
But I think for personal use, it's so.
I even mentioned to Jake, you bring it on the boat for fishing.
You
Throw
could.
a drone up there.
Could. There are actually some really cool fishing drone videos where you can see above. But I've seen a lot of the GoPro where they will actually put it in the water by like they have like a bait teaser, and you'll see like the fish come up.
That's cool.
And they actually have them attached to the line with the hook or the thing they're trolling with. I just prefer not to see the fish get hooked. When I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, that's what I do. Yeah. So
podcast at thealternativedaily.com.
What would you use the drone for?
Yeah.
let us know if you take your shoes off at the door.
Or a bad Valentine's Day story, whatever.
Really want to talk about Valentine's Day.
I love it.
So I got to spend a lot of time with Ralph yesterday.
Driving back and forth from Best Buy.
And let me tell you, going somewhere at 5:30 is the worst time to go somewhere. I never leave the house.
Here.
So-
I was
I mean,
just about to say, you never leave the house.
I mean, what literally took us 20 minutes to get to yesterday on the first trip took us like 45.
I think it's amazing because people are going to see video of Jake and be like, oh my God, he looks so young. You act like you're 90.
He doesn't have like a full
White beard.
Duck Dynasty beard.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has one sweet daughter, but he doesn't have 2 kids, 3 kids, or 4.
Yeah, life's not that hard. But I just don't like leaving. I don't like leaving. It's funny. I was talking to Gina about it, and I was telling her, I was like, what? She had said she had to go to the mall. I was like, why do you go to the mall? So there's so many people around there. Something could happen there. I was like, mass shootings don't happen like one-on-one. That's what mass shootings are. There's a lot of people. I was like, and I'm not like one of these like crazy person that's just going to dig a hole and live in there. But I was like, you go to a highly populated area, there could be wrecks, there could be fights, all these things, because I just don't go. And she was like, and I was like, it's just maybe just too much of a risk. She was like, you go surf all the time out there and you tell me shark stories. She was like, that's a risk too.
Yeah, I think that's even
and
scarier.
I literally had no, because I can't say that like I trust sharks more than people, but maybe I do. I don't know. So, I guess maybe people don't want to eat me. Sharks don't want to eat me either. They just mistake you. So
Not enough meat.
What are you talking about? So I got to spend a lot of time with Ralph yesterday, and out of our one of many, 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 many conversations, we started talking about meditation, and you could call it spirituality, etc. Ralph said he did not. There's our landscaping friends.
They're late today.
They are late today. We try and do it. They usually come like at 10, and this is not. This is the neighbors, and they do it at 10, but they're going to do it at 12:23 right now. So. You don't want to talk about God, so we don't have to do that, Ralph.
It's not me.
And you don't want to talk about your dating game either.
No.
So actually, he was talking to me about meditation, and so you actually had a lot of questions regarding that. And so here's the cool thing.
Perfect to talk about meditation.
No, that's perfect. No, that's actually really cool because when you do meditate, you can meditate through anything, right? And especially some guy with a blower, you just kind of let it come up and let it go down. And I'm sure it's going to pop back up again. But you had a lot of questions, and I told, and we've been covering meditation a lot on the website. And I think something that doesn't get defined enough is, what is meditation? Because there's a lot of stuff out there in terms of, you could say guided meditations or breathing meditations and stuff like that. And I don't view those as meditations because,
right.
The way I define it was, we were talking last night, meditation, getting to a still point, getting to that point of, you could call it nothingness. Using terms is very hard to describe it, but getting to, let's just call it stilling your mind, and the practice of getting to that point is meditation. And you see a lot of these guided meditations out there. Ralph, you said going to church or wherever it was, was your meditation, and I challenged you on that, and it wasn't from a religious standpoint, but I was just saying, we need
conversation.
We need to define what meditation is, and to define it is,
it probably helped to stop, not call it meditation. Let's make up a new word for it.
No, so it's the practice of getting to a still point. And I do what's called Kelee Meditation. I have the book here. And so I was trying to teach Ralph. Well, actually, was not teaching Ralph, but telling him all about it and everything. And so Ralph said, "Is it an audiobook format?" And he was like, Is
there like a cliff note somewhere?
I said, no, it's actually a really good book, because you can actually, each page deals with a certain topic. So let's just go to one here, morals, right? Mm-hmm. One page deals with morals as it relates back to the meditation practice. And so when I was in kind of my first figuring out this whole meditation journey thing, I would wake up in the morning, do the practice, and then I would read 10, 12, 15 pages out of here. And I would sometimes skip around. I would highlight things and everything. And it was one of those things where it's a book that you don't have to pick up and say, I got to read 4 chapters today to get it done. It just, let me read it. Does it resonate with me today because of the practice I had? Cool. Okay, let's go to the next thing, or that's enough for the day. And so, as I was telling Ralph that, he said, okay, maybe I'll get around to it. And so, the getting to a still point is hard. It's not easy. And so, I think when it comes to guided meditations and breathing meditations, there's a relaxation benefit of that, and relaxation is good, right? Relaxation, it's good to kind of take a step back and not worry about just keep hammering away. So it's good to take a step back. But what true meditation is getting to that still point, and that takes a very, very, very long time. And to explain the practice that I do, and it's going to be very hard to kind of get it right now, and I would absolutely recommend people picking up the Kelee book.
You can get it online, right?
Yeah, Kelee. I think I twisted this camera.
Yeah, you did.
Kelee. I'm sorry, Kelee. Written by Ron Rathbun, who actually had the privilege of meeting about a month ago.
For the first time?
For the first time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, went out to California and I met him, and it was absolutely epic. I mean, I was so emotional when I met him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because everything that happened, I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm so nervous. And he was like, it'll be the opposite of that in a little bit. Don't worry. So it was really, really cool. And I just had all sorts of emotions kind of come up. And then, but since meeting him, my practice is, it has gotten, let's just say, deeper. It's just it was good to finally meet him.
That's so cool.
But I kind of wanted to open up the floor, as we had said last night, of just kind of if you want to pitch a few questions to me, because I thought it would make for a good podcast segment. And I don't have the answers to everything. I'm not claiming to be a guru of any such, but I thought the conversation that we had last night would have been good for, the audience to listen to, Megan listen to, me to regurgitate, listen to myself talk. But I think that it would have been good.
Well, I mean, it's breaking down the biggest barrier of trying to...
Because you see it everywhere. You'll see it you open up Huffington Post or CNN, it's mindfulness, and you should be meditating.
They have
blah,
these
blah.
apps now, like Headspace is a big one.
Yeah, so there's certain issues with that.
But I don't see how or it's not being marketed in the best way possible. How do you market it to somebody who doesn't know that they need it? You know what I mean? How were you how did you come to meditation to say, I need to do this?
So I think by using the word marketing it is, that's not the right term, right? And I know what you're trying to say here, but...
how do you bring it to their attention?
Yep. Is what I do. So when people come to me, a lot of people ask me, because I knew me in my previous life and knew how crazy I was, right? and so I tell them about it, and I always this is the number one book that I always gift to people. I always give this book, and so, but here's the deal: I can't make you do it. I can't make you do it. Nobody could make me do it. You truly have to be inspired by it from a point in life where you're just either you've hit rock bottom, you've suffered enough, and you just want to change it, or that it just does touch you enough where you're like, I really see a change in that person. I could do that for myself. So it's It's one of those things you have to be able to do it for yourself. And you literally can't. I mean, nobody else can do it for you.
So what has it done for you?
What has it done for me? Oh, what do you mean?
Short answer.
How do you think your life is better now that you meditate?
Yeah, I think I'm living more every single day. There's a famous quote that you'll see. It's like I don't know if it's from the Buddha or whatever it is, but it was saying, what have you gained from meditating? And the answer is nothing. It's kind of cool. And then it goes on to say, but I can tell you what I've lost, which has been anxiety, depression, crazy thoughts, all these different things. And that's 100% true. But I would tell you, you literally start like living again for me, because I'm just more aware of what I'm doing. So to give you an example, when I was walking down the aisle last week, I'm walking down with my mom, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy," but when she's talking all the things, and I think she like starts crying a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I was like, just take it all in right now. I was like, this moment is not going to last forever. I was like, just be present with it, right? Just kind of like, just take it in as you're walking down the aisle. And so when I was actually sitting up there, I was the best man. So I was sitting next to the person that was marrying them. It was so cool because I was listening to Hillary and Lauren talk, and I was right there listening to it. And then I looked out at the water because I made everybody, and I could hear like the water lapping over it and everything. And it was just being aware, being in that moment, and not trying to be somewhere else. And my entire life, beforehand, not up until that point, but up until I started meditating, I was always trying to go somewhere else. I was always trying to like, okay, well, what's my plan there? Well, when I get there, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. And I was never really kind of like living my life. I was always trying to live somewhere else, which I always thought was going to be better. And so it really made me take in more of life, the good and the bad, right? And so even in really tough times, the human brain, the psyche, the ego just wants to go somewhere else, and because that's it, you want to protect yourself because you don't want to feel that sadness, that fear, and everything. So there is the times of the sadness, but of being there, and it's a much deeper and appreciative feeling of, you could say, the sad parts of it, because there is some good deep levels of it. And so it's more about, to kind of wrap up my long-winded answer to what you're saying, it's more reality than opposed to just kind of like living in my head. And that's the best way that I can explain it. Now, again, that's just for me, right? That was my experience. That was my that was how the change for me actually happened. But you kind of go, so there's two things, especially within the Kelee Meditation, teach it. There's more than two things, but you kind of like, you kind of have two things. Keep saying kind of. You have your brain function, the way your brain operates, which is like, you're sitting here having a conversation, we're doing work, you're doing math, you're working everything like on an intellectual level. And then there's the working from what we call the mind, which is that feeling of like right now, I'm actually right here, I can feel I'm talking to both of you, and there's something deeper than Ralph's beard and his beautifully black hair, and then your beautiful skin and your blonde hair, and I have none. But there's something more there. I can feel you guys a little bit more. So it's more of like a feeling sense is what this mind is, and that's something that the meditation has taught me. A lot of people want to get lost in the kind of like the spiritual, not to say getting lost in spirituality is bad, but kind of thinking about what spirituality is and thinking of, all of these different concepts, when it really doesn't even make sense until you truly feel it. And so when I started meditating, I also lost a lot of beliefs, a lot of previous belief structures that I've had. And, because for me, in terms of beliefs, we kind of talked about this last night, a belief is a wanting to know, is wanting something pleasurable to be, right? And that's a want, as opposed to what really is it. And so I lost a lot of, you could say, beliefs, but it was more of, you could say, not so much a gain, but I just gained more of an awareness of just reality. And it was very, very peaceful to me. It wasn't something that was like very scary. So that's what it did for me. Long-winded answer. And it also made me aware too. One thing I actually want to bring up too is we have these compartments. And so what Kelee Meditation teaches you is, through the practice, which I can talk through in a second, is it literally, when you get to that still point, when you work your way through what's called the Kelee, these compartments start becoming, come up to your awareness. So you could say, like for me specifically, I had one the other night where it's just like, and I actually had another friend ask me this, what, I was doing the practice and I started crying out of nowhere. And I was like, well, you hit a compartment. And if you can realize like what that is. So whether it was, mine was something about my parents and like I started crying. So there was an issue from the past. I may not know exactly what it is at that point, but it came up. It came up into, you could say, your conscious awareness. And so what you're doing is you're going to work through that, and by doing your practice, it actually helps dissolve those and detach from theirs, because there's a lot of attachment to things in this world. And if you can learn to detach from them, not to say that you're leading like a bland life of not love, it's actually more of a love feeling when you're detached from it, meaning like I'm gonna let that thing be and I'm gonna love it. And I guess the best example is like when you see a flower, and like so many people are gonna go pick it and put it in their hair and stuff like that, and that's like they're attaching themselves to it. Well, if you can see a flower and not truly attach it, like not break it and just kind of appreciate it where it is, that's true detachment. Just to give an example. And so you learn kind of all these things as you do the meditation practice, which is just completely bettered my life, or I could say made me more aware of my life than what I was before. So I was living in my brain, living in kind of like all these different things, bam, 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 always going on. And then finally when I did kind of, you could say, I don't want to say, started doing it and getting deeper into the meditation, it was like a deep breath. It was like things started slowing down because my brain can fire really quickly. So,
yes, it can.
Yes, it can. It can.
No, Megan, you meditate.
No, I try. I meditate when I take yoga class. That's really like the extent of how I can do it. In yoga, the final position that you do, it's called Shavasana, and they say it's the most important position that you can do, or posture. And that's at the end. If you've ever seen people in a yoga class, how they lay on their backs and like they just are in complete stillness. So I struggle even in that to try and find the nothingness. In most of the classes and practices that I take, they'll sort of guide you, or they'll give you like a point of reference, for example. And so they'll say, think of a happy thing, or sometimes they'll just tell you, think of back on a memory, or think back on a place that you were. Other times they'll actually guide you through it. And there have been times where I've actually been in it to the point where when the teacher is then saying, okay, start to come out of it, wiggle your toes, I'm like, oh my God, I think I actually just did it.
Right.
But for me, it's a struggle so much to, as soon as they tell you to stop thinking about nothing, then I'm like, I'm thinking of nothing. I'm thinking of nothing. And then nothing is something. So I have a hard time with it just in turning my mind off. And that's why I've even looked into things like the Headspace app and all these. 'Cause I think now it's kind of funny, and I don't want to talk down to it because I know that these really help a lot of people. It's almost funny that there are apps and different websites and programs that you can use now that are like the quick and easy way to meditate, because in some ways it almost seems like
a crutch, right?
In some ways it seems like it's almost counterintuitive.
And again, it goes back to they're good for relaxing, right? And some of these headspaces, some of these different things can put your brain like whether it's through different frequencies that they can put off, or music and things like that. But it's one of those things where it is hard. And so what people are doing is they're trying to find the easy way to do it when.
Or vice versa, like I said yesterday with the audiobooks. It's because all I want to do is multitask.
Yeah. And there's
talk about counterintuitive.
When you're trying to get a job done and and multitasking, and of course, Ralph, if you stop multitasking, I don't know if I could get everything done I wanted to. But it's as I was telling Ralph, it's one of those things. It's hard, and in life, things get hard. And usually if it's the hard way, I've found there's some benefit to it, right? Whereas if it's just like, oh, I just pick up a Headspace app, I press a button and, I'm zoned out. That's, for me, that just doesn't feel right, you could say. And so what this does, it's all on you. There's no crutch. And it's not like you have to sit in a certain position. It's not like you have to burn some incense or light a candle.
Incense.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Incest? Oh, man. Incense. But it's all on you. It's all on you, and that's where you truly find a lot of answers that people sink. Because I know both of you well, and I know you probably have a ton of questions about just life in general, right? I'm sure you have a lot of questions, because everybody does, in terms of whether it's a philosophical answer, just kind of just life in general, things that happen in your life, that why did this happen, and why did this happen to you? When you get good with yourself, right? When you kind of get in in that still space, that's when you really find yourself, and you find a lot of answers there. You find a lot of questions too, but you also find a lot of answers. And
so wait, really quick, when you first started it, you must have been like how we are in the sense of it's really hard to unplug.
I remember sitting down the very first time. I sat down, and keep in mind, I was at a point in my life where I had no other way. Okay. And so I thought, like, I did take some guided meditations. I did listen to some. I did watch some guided meditations, and it was relaxing, but there was something to it that just wasn't, you could say, fulfilling enough. And so when I started doing this, when I sat down the very first time, my mind just kind of, just like my brain just is just constantly cycling. And I did it for like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I didn't do anything there, right?
Yeah.
But it's a practice. It's like if I said, Megan, let's go surf right now, and you go out there, you're not going to be able to stand up on your first wave and do it. You're not going to. And so you have to, maybe you can. I'm sorry. Have you surfed before?
No.
Okay.
So you're probably right on the money there.
But again, like, I couldn't go in there and do the different yoga poses you do.
Yes, that's right. You could not.
But it's kind of like stretching too, right? So
Right.
if I go to stretch, I can't do it. But if I keep doing it every day, you get a little bit closer and a little bit closer, until like one day, which it doesn't. You don't even have to read the book. You just have to do the practice. Till one day, it's like something just kind of like, oh, that's what it is. That's what happened.
Was that like after 2 weeks?
Yeah, I was just about to say.
3
So how
weeks?
long is this?
It's different for every person. For me.
Did you ever get frustrated?
Yeah.
Because I would feel like I would get really frustrated and just be like, I can't do this.
Right.
You know?
It was for me because I'm a very competitive person. So if I picked up a ball, I was going to be the best at it really quickly. Surfing, I taught myself really quickly. Swimming, same thing. But this, it was kind of like a battle against me, right? And so it took, for me personally, it probably took, don't get scared. For me, it took about 3 to 4 months
Wow.
of doing it every single day in the morning and the evening, 5 to 10 minutes, until I started. I was like, oh, okay. And I've had a couple experiences, which we don't have to get into, whatever, but I've just like, when I was like, oh, I really got into something this morning. I really, really, I can feel it now. I can understand it. So it's, what I tell everybody, I've bought this book for a lot of people, and I just say, it's not easy. And if you're truly serious about it, you have to put in the discipline. Just like in anything you do, there's discipline to it. Because if you think you're just going to put on a Headspace app once a week when you have time, when, on a Sunday laying there with, your ferret, it's not going to be, I was going to say cat, but I don't want to like necessarily point
Point
finger.
me out.
But if it's something you really got to do every day, and not a lot of people stick with it either. And it's, if the world would still their mind more, it'd be a lot more peaceful place. So,
do you feel it when you don't meditate that day?
I do it every day. But there's obviously been days like when we went to the wedding, there was so much going on. I didn't find a time like on a day or whatever. No, I just know that like in that certain aspect, like with that day, it's kind of saying we have a lot going on. I should have just done it, but I didn't. And I knew that I was going to do it the next day. And so you'll see a lot of people that will say, I did it this morning, and I start my day with it, and everything, and this makes my day go better, etc. I don't look at it from a day. And you know me, I don't look at anything from a short-term perspective. Everything's long-term for me. So I don't do it to make my day better. I do it to make my life better. And so if I didn't do it that day, I know I'm going to do it the next day, right? Now, there was a little bit of I guess you could say rut maybe 2 years ago, like when we moved and we were living with somebody else. It was very hard to find a groove. And it was probably about like 2 or 3 weeks where it was like really choppy whether I did it or not. But I knew that I was
when your daughter was born.
No, I was doing well. We talked.
You were stressed.
It was stressed out, and that happens too. And I was trying to find the time to do it too. You're right. And so maybe that was the second time.
Ralph's just calling people out.
No, Ralph's actually right there. But I knew that I was going to find it again, and it was like I've done things before where like I'll go run or exercise where I stop and I'm like, oh, you know what. And I've gone on like months without doing it. And I knew that, oh man, I'm going to go a long time without doing this. With the meditation, it was just like, I was going to give it my best effort again the next day. And it's not like I also want to say that it's not like you have these massive experiences every single day, because you deal with a lot of stuff, and there's times when your brain just can't slow down, right? And this is just for me, but I've definitely found that I'm not disciplined in anything in my life. I'm really not. Like I go for a run, and then like I don't go for runs. I exercise some. I do exercise well, but there's not things that I am more disciplined in life than the meditation, because it's just fixed. It just fixed my life. It changed my life. So I'm very adamant about anybody can do it. One of the questions I recently got to was, what about for somebody who's, Christian or, whatever religious background? Well, it works for anybody. It basically, the answer is it enhances your life. It doesn't take on a religious background or anything like that. So, and that was actually one, you could say, negative compartment trigger that I got into when I first started, because it kind of grew up in that Catholic thing, was, oh my God, is this voodoo? And I actually got up out of a meditation practice one morning. I actually was doing it at the beach, and I got up and left because I'd hit like a point, like I hit a compartment, as we say, of it kind of like, oh my God, this is like black voodoo, and you're like, I'm going to go to hell for this, right? And so I realized what I had done. I had hit later on, like, the next day or et cetera. And so I was like, okay, I was aware of it. And so I started to detach from it, you could say. So, yeah.
So where can people find this book?
Yeah. If you're interested, I'll give them away. If somebody wants it, just email us. You can just say meditation. I'll send it to you.
That's really nice.
If you want to go for it on your own, I'm going to go to Amazon, Kelee, the Kelee Meditation. But if you want one, just email me and say meditation or whatever you want. If you're interested, great. If you're not,
I'll email you. Megan will email you for the GoPro.
So the way
There's
it
two people right there.
The way it works.
Don't enter the sweepstakes.
The way it works is,
I want that book.
I'm not going to do it really any justice, but you kind of start being aware of the top of your head, and then you work as they call this, the lesser Kelee, like you're up here in your head, your brain, and you work it down to what's here, kind of like your surface of your mind, where kind of everything takes place. And then after, for me, months of practice, you learn how to drop into that feeling state. And, and you're there for, and all this takes, like, you drop down to that surface of mind, as I was talking about, takes like, a minute, something like that. You stay at kind of where everything takes place here at the surface of the mind for 30, 45 seconds. And then when you do drop down, you stay there for, a couple minutes, and you're not timing it, and I did when I first started. I was like, oh my God, how long was I in there? And it eventually, all that just fell away. And so I'll find myself, whether I'm just sitting in a chair, sitting cross-legged, just getting comfortable. But that's how you do it. And then just kind of being aware of what happened during that entire time. So once you come out of it, it's just saying, oh, that was cool, or not to say that you judge it, but just being aware of it. So if you want it, it's written by, I met him 2 or 3, or maybe a month ago, Ron Rathbun. It's called Kelee Meditation, Kelee, and it's I like the green book. It can get deep, but yeah. Do you want it?
I'll take it.
There you go. It's for you.
There you go.
I have another one too, Megan. If you want it.
Are you just giving away other things?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the hero in my bag.
We're gonna give ukuleles away one day. No, I appreciate you guys, Ralph. I know that we kind of had a deeper conversation about this last night, but
Ralph's gonna come in next week in the podcast, like in robes and like the beads everywhere.
No, it just enhances your life, and it's good. But you gotta be disciplined. You gotta be disciplined.
I'm a disciplined guy.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes.
Awesome. So that's my take on meditation.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
No problem. Last one.
Speaking of people who could use meditation.
Man, yeah, this will be the last topic of the day. So we actually wanted to get into this really quickly. So there's a lot of going on with politics these days. But we want to cover 2 specific ones right here. And it's interesting because these are 2 people that we were talking about this again. I spent a lot of time with Ralph yesterday.
A lot of time.
Last year at this time, I got to come out. Hold on. I was just kind of like, got to come out of what I was just talking about. Last year at this time, we, in terms of the political landscape for the President of the United States, if you're a betting man, you would have put money on Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Well, here, a year later, there's a possibility it could be Bernie Sanders, who I had no clue, last year who it was, and Donald Trump,
who was the host of The Apprentice.
Well, I mean, the good thing though too is,
Crazy.
is the more and more I learn about politics, and you don't get to experience it that much because there's really only an election every 4 years. So within 30 years, how many elections have you gone through? Not that many still when you're talking about 30 years. But generally, the percentage of that, the percentage of times the two front runners at the very beginning of the race actually are competing against each other for the presidency is very slim, which I thought was interesting.
And even 8 years ago, people thought it was going to be Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And this guy named Barack Obama came around, and
he had less than 10% of before the primaries. I believe he had like less than 10% polling. Yeah. Which is crazy considering he's our president. You know what I mean?
But I think it was that same year too. People thought it was going to be Giuliani was going to be the hands down.
It's absolutely crazy sometimes how I guess the better orator or statesman on stage, depending on who you're actually talking to, right? Because Trump is a better orator towards his base. You know what I mean? That's what they want as a president, right? But does it really rely on the resume? Does it only rely on major talking points?
Obviously, it's not the resume because he has no political background.
But he has background in companies and putting together successful companies. Now, we could get into
whether or not they... Correct. Right. We won't go down that rabbit hole right now. But here's what I really wanted to bring up too, which was these are two, as they're saying, non-establishment candidates, right? Bernie's been in politics, his whole life, right? But he's never been kind of like the establishment one that goes all along what the Democrats are saying, right? And same thing with Trump. I mean, some would even classify him as a liberal, as of 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Right.
And so,
well, he was a Democrat.
So what's interesting here is that they're both appealing to a specific crowd in the United States. Now the question is, are each one of their bases the majority?
Right. I mean, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the independents are such a slim portion of whether you're talking about right, middle, or left. But the independents are the ones that win elections.
Previously.
Right.
But here's something else is that Bernie Sanders, from the ages of 18 to 25, I think this was in New Hampshire, had an 85% polling rate, meaning 85% of those between 18 and 25
approval.
Actually voted for him. I don't think it's approval. I think voted for him in the primaries. So what if what I'm saying there is that's all everything you're saying is previous stuff. But what if truly the young crowd start showing up? It's very. We'll get to Donald Trump in a second, but with Bernie Sanders, it's very similar to Ron Paul. Was it 4 or 8 years ago, where he did rile up some big young votes because he
libertarian,
yeah, and he had a big young following, but could never really get it going. Why is it that Bernie Sanders is getting it going with young kids?
I'll tell you.
Is it because he's overpromising?
That's actually a really good point. I just think it's the movement, right? Over the last 8 years, and a lot of us have lived it too. You have student loan debt. You literally do have, and the feeling is very true, that people, millennials, 20s, early 30s, don't necessarily are very worried about their future.
Right.
Right? Do they? And it's Hillary says it. Everyone says it. It's very true. There's a feeling there that between student loan debt, almost like the society forcing you to go to college, but who's going to pay for it? You know what I mean? College tuitions are
so expensive.
I don't even know how.
Sure.
I get worried about myself. I couldn't imagine if I was 20 or 17 thinking about I got to go to college after college tuition. Yeah. Within the last 10 years.
But here's the thing:
SUNY New York schools have doubled, and that's a state school.
But here's my question is, and
I'm just saying the ideology has grown.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Is that really a big issue though?
Yes,
it is
huge.
Okay,
huge. In regards to student loans and.
Well, look at the people that you're talking about then, 18 to 25
Sure, exactly.
What is it a big issue for 25 to 45-year-olds?
Yeah, because they still have student loans.
Will this affect them at all?
What, the student loans? Absolutely.
No. What if Bernie Sanders wants to put anything in effect? They already have their loans. Those loans are not going to be wiped out, are they? Because
it could be eased, because what you're doing is, I mean, there's been
because what he wants to do,
there's been laws created where you can only get charged for your student loans. You can only get charged for your student loans depending on what your income is.
Got it. So
right?
So what he's running on is for people currently with
affordable student loans.
Is that going forward, or is that retroactive of people who say, hey, I have a $200,000 debt? Can what?
I don't know what the story is with that, because I know some people that don't pay nearly as much in student loans that I do, yet their loans are like $90,000.
So you think it's so okay? So we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. So you think it's a big deal?
Basically, I don't know what the legislation is, and I think a lot of voters don't know either of what is actually in effect right now to reduce the cost of student loans. However, there is a lot of frustration of the people that are not seeing it on their end. So,
all right. So you think it's a big deal? Okay, just yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that immigration is a big deal?
Immigration being a big deal. Yes, actually, I do.
You don't care what.
I do, only for the fact of just check mark, get that out of politics. Let's just, not make that a talking point anymore.
So you don't think that immigration should be a talking point?
Right. So let's take care of it now. Let's get some bipartisan effort. Let's pass something.
Got it. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Let's stop the BS.
Okay, but what I'm getting to is you see that on one hand that college tuition and debt is a big issue, and immigration is a big issue. And funny enough, here's the crazy thing, is a year ago, we really weren't talking about these two things. Because
immigration?
Not the way that Trump has brought it to the forefront, right? And
with the wall.
With the wall, whatever. So I'm saying is he picked something and was able to market it to the masses saying, this is it. This is the big issue right here. And Bernie... I know he's been championing this for a while, etc., but was able to market that to the masses as well. And so they were able to pick better things than, let's say, Jeb or Hillary. Would you agree with that?
Well, and
I should say not better, but more appealing things for the base.
We talked about this yesterday, and something I really wanted to bring up. And if we were to concentrate just on Bernie and Hillary, Bernie's spiking in the polls. Hillary's stance is, I'm not going to bring up anything that I can't achieve.
Right.
So Hillary's stance, and I can't even hear you guys, but Hillary's stance is that she's not coming out with any bold plans because she doesn't want to overpromise.
Right.
Bernie's spiking in the polls because he's overpromising and talking about stuff he'll pass, which will never have any chance of passing. Right, so it's almost like what's that middle ground, if there is such a thing?
Right.
Should Hillary just start coming out and making bold promises that she'll never pull off, just like what Bernie's doing right now?
Do you think,
and just like what the Republicans have done in the past, which has got them essentially overthrown for Donald Trump because they overpromise stuff that they can't pass?
Do you think that Bernie is overpromising right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think that Donald Trump is overpromising right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting.
And they're the two front runners. Look at Jeb.
Do you see what I'm doing here?
Look at Hillary.
Is that the two front runners right now? You could arguably say that Bernie Sanders is a front runner.
He's definitely not, because there's a lot of moderate states, but he's coming close, man.
Right.
And I'm not, I don't think there's still like a 55% chance. I mean, I guess it's a flip of coin still, but that Hillary wins the Democratic nominee. However, you can't predict a surge in Bernie because Bernie's coming out with the punches, and Hillary's just standing behind him taking it. You know what I mean? So I can't predict where Hillary's going to be, but it's not looking good right now. She's still front runner, but it ain't looking good.
Interesting. Did you see? And I don't want to get caught up in the caucuses and primaries, but did you see that one of the main reasons that Hillary won was when there is a tie in a certain caucus? Did you know this? So let's just say 50 are literally standing over here for Bernie and 50 are standing over here for Hillary. The way they decide who wins that precinct, the flip of the coin.
Yep. They investigated that. At the end of the day, the amount of delegates that went out to Hillary versus Bernie was minute. I mean, it was like 22 to 20 or something. It
comes down
like
to a
that.
flip of the coin. Those did.
Yeah, and it's crazy how each state makes up its own rules on how it votes for their nominees.
Yep. So Bernie and Trump in a national election, who wins?
Bernie versus Trump in a national election, I don't even want to think about it.
Why not? If you had to say if you're a betting man, you have to put $500.
I'll tell you exactly who would win. Okay.
I heard
Trump. I heard a stat
that would win.
I heard a stat out there.
I'm just asking you, Ralph.
That Democrats usually win when it's high turnout.
You did say that, yes.
So if by any chance Bernie actually wins the Democratic nominee, I'd say
can get the high turnout.
And can get the high turnout, I think Bernie has a shot.
So you say Bernie, she says Trump.
What do you say? Of the
I
two?
say it's a Trump-Bernie ticket.
But all right, so of the two, who do you say?
No, they're together.
Oh.
They join forces at the end and say, we got you all. Awesome.
Great show.
Thank you, guys.
Hope you guys at home enjoyed watching us.
Yeah. So, Megan, what are we giving away?
All right, we're giving away a Hero 4 from GoPro.
No, it's not a Euro. It's like you're not going to eat this thing. It's not a Euro.
It's a Hero 4. On fleek today. You're on fleek. Hero 4 from GoPro, valued at $400. If you want to win one, just email us podcast@thealternativedaily.com. And yeah, also, if you want to learn more about Kelee and how to meditate and be more enlightened like Jake Carney is.
Stop it. No.
You can email jake@thealternativedaily.com and he'll send you a book.
Thanks for giving my private email address out there.
I thought that was known.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It's pretty known.
If you guys do want it, just email me. We'll get something out to you.
And if you like our podcast and you want to listen to others, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and thealternativedaily.com.
And maybe YouTube at some point.
Oh,
Yeah.
we used to be on YouTube with videos.
And Ralph, where can we find you at?
Where? What? My email address?
Yeah, or your
Swipe right, girls. Swiping right.
or your Twitter handle, or Instagram, or Facebook.
I'm gonna have to be more in tune with
Your
this.
cell phone number.
Yeah, exactly. It's 555 something.
Awesome.
Something.
Well, we'll see how this turns out from the video. If it doesn't turn out,
We both get GoPros.
done. If it doesn't turn
I'm
out,
praying it doesn't work.
don't worry about it. We'll find a way to get on there soon. Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
You have to wave. Goodbye.
That's it.
That's it. Turn it off.